Thank you, sir. Namaste and good morning to all. With due permission of Chair Dr. S.K. Panigrai, Head of Geology Department, Kalahandi University, have a great honor to welcome today's eminent chief guest, Professor Arvind Deshmukh, National President, Microbiologist Society of India. Namaste, sir. We have great honor that you are with us. I welcome you, sir, for this national webinar. Now I may request today's guest of honor, Professor Niranjan Behera, State President, MIS, Odisha and Dean, AIPH University. Sir, namaste. This is your kind greatness that you are with us. I welcome, sir, to this national webinar. A very warm good morning to all distinguished participants. Today's resource person, Dr. Satyananda Patel, research scientist, AIPH University, respected Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Sanjay Kumar Satpathy, Kalahandi University, esteemed Registrar Sri P.L. Bhoi, PG Council Chairman Sri H.C. Sadangi, and Deputy Registrar Dr. Jaydev Sahu. I also heartily welcome Tapan Kumar Barik, Barampur University, and former head of this department, Professor Radhakanta Pradhan. All my colleagues, supportive members of Kalahandi University, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all for this webinar. With the encouragement and support from the Microbiologist Society India, the student unit of Kalahandi chapter of the Odisha state was inaugurated in online mode on 16th September 2020 from Kalahandi University in presence of our former in-charge Vice Chancellor Professor Govind Chandra, Professor Deshmukh, Professor Behera, Professor Jatindra Pradhan, faculties and students of our university. It was followed by a webinar on microorganism and man. Thereafter, various activities like invited lectures, national webinar, competitions, etc. going on to encourage the student and research from KBK region, Odisha, to excel in the field of microbiology and other allied branches of biological sciences. Once again, on behalf of Department of Geology and Kalahandi University, I am very pleased to welcome you all to this national webinar series on topic vaccine, concept and therapeutics. In this webinar, we do recognize and cherish the presence of many familiar members as participants from the field of biological sciences across India, Odisha, and few from abroad as faculties, scientists, research scholars, and students. As a part of this webinar, have a great privilege that more than 700 participants have registered within 2 days. A warm welcome to you all. Your participation and inputs are much appreciated and valuable to us. I hope with the grace of Almighty, your blessings and best wishes for the success of this webinar. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Now I would like to request my friend Dr. Jatindra Kumar Pradhan to deliver guest introduction speech and then bring it ahead. Sir, it is now over to you. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. I extend a warm welcome to you all. It is a glorious day. This is a wonderful occasion, and I am so impressed with the skilled professionals assembled here in this webinar. I am Dr. Jatindra Kumar Pradhan, Assistant Professor in Zoology, convener of this webinar, and immense pleasure to put a brief introduction of our guests of today's occasion on behalf of Kalahandi University. These achievements are endless, which I can't give justice in short stretch of my time. We are only giving the symbolic presentations, so pardon me for that. With request to the Vice Chancellor, I just want to express the time limit. As a Professor Deshmukh, he has some other assignments in this time. I first request to allow me to introduce Professor Deshmukh, by which he will grace this occasion and he will leave for another assignment. Sir, shall I go for it?
Okay.
Jatin give a very short introduction. Each one who have joined their masters itself, their introduction will complete the time. So give a short introduction. The deliberation will be the introduction. The work will speak, the words will speak. So don't take much time. We will go to the topic as fast as possible. Please.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So I privilege and humble to take this opportunity to introduce the chief guest of the day, Professor Arvind Madhavrao Deshmukh, the founder and president of Microbiologist Society, India. The strength of Professor Deshmukh is his educational qualifications. He completed his BSc, MSc, and PhD in microbiology, and he awarded PhD from Shivaji University in 1988. And he was a professor and head of the Department of Microbiology, Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Mathwada University. And he is an acclaimed teacher who has since through the career progression of nearly 40 batches of postgraduate students, and he has guided to completion research work in their PhD students. He is an eminent scientist and a well-known Indian academician from Baba Saheb Ambedkar Marathwada University. Presently, he is working as advisor to many higher education institutions in Maharashtra. The learned and scholarly will be praised wherever they go. His contribution to popularize microbiology in India is praiseworthy. He also put in great effort for dissemination of knowledge pertaining to microbiology among UG students, framing different kinds of competitions, seminars, skill enhancement trainings, workshops, and entrepreneurships. He had never shown reluctant and always established change is the end of result of all true learnings. So during his presidency at Microbiology Society, he successfully hosted international conferences in abroad, such as USA, Dubai, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan. Beyond his academic work, he is a writer and keynote speaker. He is also the founder of Virtual Classroom of Microvision, an organization that online presentation tools that help teachers and speakers illustrate the limits of visual perception and attentions. That justifies that the goal of education is the advancement of knowledge and the dissemination of the truth. We at Kalandi University are fortunate to have Professor Deshmukh amidst us on this spectacular day. Thank you, sir, for being with us. And I request you, please deliver this speech and grace the occasion. Professor Arvind Deshmukh. Professor Arvind Deshmukh, sir.
Sir, you are mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Now you are audible.
Yes. So, thank you very much. At the outset, I would like to express my thanks to the Kalandi University Botany and Zoology Department and especially Pradhan sir. He is a convener of today's discussion, today's webinar. I am also thankful to Honorable Vice Chancellor and Honorable Registrar of this university for the reason for creating a good academic environment in your university so that the teachers are doing excellent academic job, giving a academic feast to many students. As the convener told me that there is a huge demand from the student, and they are attending, many students are attending today. That is a success of the university. I am also thankful to Dr. Niranjan Behra, State President of MSI. He is really popularizing microbiology subject in Orissa. And today's scenario indicates us there is a need of microbiology, not for development. It is for existence of you and me. Coronavirus taught us that everyone should know at least little bit about the microbiology. And today's topic is also the vaccine. So really I am thankful to the convener and to the university that you are doing a national service by creating of the vaccine among the student. So I am really thankful, and as a president of Microbiology Society, I would like to express my thanks, and I would like to congratulate the team, because this work, arranging the webinar, it requires a teamwork. So already in the morning I told to the convener that I really congratulate you, but here also in the meeting I would like to congratulate him again and his team again for arranging such a beautiful webinar. As a president of Microbiology Society, I am always with you, morally as well as financially. In all aspects, for the communication also, we are with you. And really you are doing a good job. That is a need of the nation. That is a need of academics, and you are doing it. So Microbiology Society is always with you. Again, I request your organization team, go for international talk, international webinar. We are with you. So I am thankful to all, thankful to our state president, Niranjan Behra, because of he is the best, very best in communication. He has contacted many departments in Orissa and doing a good job. Thank you again and wish you all the best on this occasion. Thank you, Honorable Vice Chancellor. Thank you, Honorable Registrar.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Jatin, what happened?
Am I audible right now, sir?
Yeah, audible.
So Very quickly, I am going to introduce our other dignitaries. So we have with us our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Sanjay Kumar Satpathy sir, as chief patron of this webinar. He has been with us since April as first Vice Chancellor for university, that is Kalandhi University. He has been an eminent scholar, excellent academician, and he served almost all parts of Odisha, and he associated many organizations globally and nationally, and he is being a member of NAC team and member of many evaluator teams and many more. And during this golden career of his educational academician, he published many articles to his credit in the form of research publications, in the form of books, book chapters, and many more. Among many accolades, he has been decorated with a, and no name few are Mahanati, Sanskriti Seva Sanman, and Golden Name Awards for excellence and leadership in education. He is prominent of his among top 100 peoples of his district, and from the day of joining, he has amongst almost ignited every faculty and made a very clear vision for this university. I want to highlight here some of his achievements during short time period. He is bringing out a lot of interesting policies to our campus for promoting sustainable development in academics, the zero waste, plastic-free campus, green zones, rainwater harvesting, and industry for paper production. Grow together are his some initiatives. Recently, we had a huge plantation and campus cleaning drive due to his support. And some of these activity reflects in his official Twitter handles and YouTube as well. So I'll share these links during this seminar. You'll visit, and we welcome you, sir. Thank you for your support. We also have with us our esteemed registrar, Professor Padmalochan Bhoy sir, as patron of the webinar. Professor Bhoy is currently working as Associate Professor in Sanskrit in our Kalandhi University. Professor Bhoy is a teacher par excellence and has a notable accomplishment and knowledge in his field, that is Sanskrit. Having a great long period of over 34 years of his teaching experience, he has influenced and ignited many young minds towards the extended teachings, research, and administration. Apart from teaching, he has a very good experience in different administrative posts. During his tenure of holding different positions, he has done really very mentionable progress. He is a reputed influencer too. And the most valuable thing I like to put before us about Padmalochan Bhoy is that he is benevolent and humble person. A sincere thank to Professor Bhoy for being with us. It's time to introduce you Professor Niranjan Behera. He is always well known to us, and I am pleased to introduce today's guest of honor, Professor Behera. Professor Behera is presently working as Dean, School of Biological Sciences, AIPH University Bhubaneswar, and heading as the chairperson, MSI Unit, Odisha. He has more than 40 glorious years of experience in the field of teaching and research of biological sciences, and was working as a professor and head School of Life Sciences, Sambalpur University. Professor Behera is a fellow to international societies for tropical ecology and National Environmentalist Association. His research interests are soil microbiology, ecology, biodiversity, conservation, and environmental studies. So the most inspiring thing is Professor Behera is very popular for his scientific talks and constantly working to popularize science. We are feeling absolutely proud to have him with us as guest of honor for this occasion. A heartiest welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
We are pleased to have Dr. Satyananda Patel with us as our resource person. Currently, he is working as a research scientist at AIPH University with the expertise in the field of virology and targeted therapy, with special reference to gene editing and immunotherapy. Dr. Patel has received his PhD from Central Drug Research Institute, Lucknow. Then Dr. Patel moved abroad for his postdoctorate at Institute of Cochin, Paris, France. Then St. Louis Hospital, Paris, France. Then Institut Gustave Roussy, France. Then China, USA Hormel Cancer Institute, and has trained a number of MS and MD and PhD students on different issues related to viruses and their gene editing during his stay in China and France. So it's a long time he worked in China and France, that is around more than 13 years. So he had been the author in almost all topmost journals, like all of our most reputed and dream forum like Blood Cancer Journal, Leukemia, Oncotargets, Cell Death and Diseases. He is a well-known giant in the field of virology, with publication of more than 50 research articles. Now his research interests are focused on SARS-CoV-2, serosurveillance, as well as gene editing, and he is establishing BSL-3 facility and COVID-19 PCR-based diagnostics at his university. So I can say he is the perfect person in this pandemic time to speak on this topic, vaccine concept and therapeutics. Welcome, you, sir. We are waiting. I had to hear today from you. Now,
thank you very much.
Now I will request our registrar sir to grace this occasion. Professor Padmachandra.
Thank you, Dr. Pradhan. Respected Honorable Vice Chancellor and Chief Partner of this webinar, Professor Sanjay Kumar Satpathy, Chief Guest of the occasion, Professor Arvind Deshmukh, Guest of Honor, Professor Niranjan Behra, Resource Person, Dr. Satyananda Patel, PG Council Chairman Himanshu Sodangi, and all my colleagues of Kalandhi University. Today's webinar on vaccine, its concept and therapeutics has been relevant to human society since 17th century by works of Lady Mary Waterley Montagu, Edward Jenner subsequently. The subject grew and has benefited for at least 6 to 7 generations. Today, every individual is subjected to vaccination, Tikakarna, from birth. In the post-November-December of 2019, we faced a new challenge for survival of mankind in the form of COVID-19 disease, which has not spared any continent or country. This pandemic has taken toll on mankind, and all were desperate for a cure. COVID-19 vaccine is showing some way to cope with this. Vaccine is highest Google word in the world. Thus, so far my knowledge is concerned on the subject, I understand vaccine is a suspension of weakened, killed, or fragmented microorganism or toxins or of antibody or lymphocytes that is administered primarily to prevent disease. In this COVID-19 pandemic, apart from having general understanding about vaccine, we need to learn more about it. This webinar attempts to discuss the much needed information. I wish the dignitaries, delegates, my colleagues, and students to take the best opportunity of this webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Bhoi, sir. And now I'll request the State President, Professor Niranjan Behra, sir, to grace this occasion.
Thank you, Dr. Jatin. So, Professor Satpathy, the Vice Chancellor of Kalandhi University, Professor Bhue, the Registrar of the University, Professor Deshmukh, the National President MSI, Dr. Subrat, the Head of the Department of Zoology, Dr. Ghanashyam, the Head of the Department of Botany, Kalandhi University, Dr. Jatin, the Coordinator of MSI, faculty, staff, delegates, and of course, the talker, Dr. Satyanand. In fact, in the morning itself, I got few calls from some of the students asking me. Then I was telling that I am busy. I have to attend a webinar and all that. And it's going to be done by the Kalahandi University. Sarcastically, they told that, sir, all the times you are focusing your attention to Kalahandi University. To that, I replied, look, I have adopted Kalahandi University for the sake of the science. I feel if the Kalahandi will grow, the entire state is going to be illuminated. So that was my response and all that. But anyway, with very few time spending on that, I am going to tell you that I am very happy to note that the MSI unit at Kalahandi University is very, very active, rather it is super active, regularly conducting lectures and other student interacting programs. And I have been participating good number of lectures also I have delivered for the students. And this is because of the efforts of the coordinator and also all the faculty members. Those who are there, actually, they are really very, very good. And see, it's always a time, it's a love for me to talk to the faculty and to be at Kalahandi University. The present talk, vaccine, the concept and therapeutics is the most relevant topic about which very often we have certain misconceptions and all that. The vaccine, while pointing out to the vaccine, one of the greatest microbiologists, he pointed out that if microorganisms, they are causing the disease, then they can cure the disease also. And from that, we got the concept of the vaccine. So the present talk vaccine is going to be very relevant for the students because many times the student, they fail to answer the question, what is a vaccine? How does it work? How is it biologically intervened? And how does it immunizes? And how come the immunization is going to last for long? And why viral vaccines are important? So there are good number of questions. All these questions perhaps going to be answered by the talker today with his postdoctoral experience at France and China. So therefore, I will be requesting Dr. Patel to be little sticky so that our participants and the students, they are going to get it actually. Because I mean, all the students, they are reading, but immunology, which is a basic thing for this, has not been taught till that with full vigor, and also microbiology. So therefore, I'll be telling Dr. Patel to see that these things that enter into the brain of our participant students, and of course other students are there. And with this, I hope I should not spend much of the time actually, and should not act as a wall between you and the talker. And I hope such activity is going to continue with the Kalahandi University for times to come and all that. So I express all the best wishes for this webinar. And with this, once again, thank you all. So thank you, Dr. Jatin. I hand over the microphone to you.
Thank you, sir, Professor Bera, sir. Very nicely you introduced the topic to all the participants. Now I request the speaker of the day, Dr. Satyanand Patel, sir, and we are ready to hear you. Go for, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Jatin, and thank you, Vera, sir. And thank you for such a nice introduction. And good morning to all the participants and the distinguished guests. So, considering the present COVID-19 situation, this talk is an effort to bring more information and clarity on understanding about the vaccine concept and how the use of the vaccine make us healthier, and it improves the life expectancy of the humankind through time. From this image, we can see that India, along with the other neighboring countries which are the low-income countries, has high and better perception on the efficacy of vaccine compared to the high-income countries. A vaccine is a biological product. When a person is vaccinated, it induces an immune response. Because of that, there is generation of some memory cells. And these memory cells keep the information or memorizes the information about the antigenic unique properties of that specific microorganism, so that when a vaccinated person is infected with the microorganism having the identifying features of the vaccine, is able to prevent the cause of the disease, and so it makes the person protected from the infection by that microorganisms. So when the WHO take the resolution around the 1960s,
Patel sir, please unmute your mic.
yeah, there is a problem. So yeah, there is a problem here. Yeah, so good morning to all of you, and sorry for that mic was mute. So based on the present COVID-19 pandemic and the hesitancy relating to the vaccine, this talk is an effort to bring more clarity to the vaccine concept and how the vaccine makes us healthier and provide a humankind that has a higher life expectancy. So on this image, I already discussed, but the audio was not there. We can see that the low-income countries like the India, along with the South Asian countries, then Southeast Asian countries, and the East and the Central, the South Africa, the efficacy of the vaccine, the perception is better compared to the high-income countries. So what is a vaccine? A vaccine is a biological product. When a person is vaccinated, this vaccine results in an immune response. Because of that, it generates some memory cells. And these memory cells, when it encounters the real pathogen that should cause the disease to the individual, it will protect the individual from becoming sick. So these are the results of the variolation in the European countries and the American countries. Because of this, there is a decrease in the smallpox incidence. But after the proper validation of the smallpox vaccine in 1960s, WHO took a resolution to eradicate the smallpox from the earth. And when the WHO took the resolution, there is a vaccination program went for against the smallpox throughout the world. And we can see after the resolution, there is a dramatic decrease in the smallpox incidence in Africa and the rest of the continent of the world. In 1977, there is zero smallpox incident in the world. So in 1980, WHO declared our earth is smallpox free. So coinciding with the vaccination process, we can see there is a increase in the life expectancy of the human race throughout the population around the globe. Similarly, the other diseases like the polio, it decreases 99% around the globe, and in 2014, India was declared polio free. Coinciding with these results, there are 93 deaths per 1,000 live births in 1990s. Compared to that, there is a 13 in India and 39 around the globe deaths per 1,000 live births in 2018. These are the results of the vaccination. So, is there any ancient evidence of the vaccination available? Yes. It was not called as vaccination, but it was in process known as the variolation. It was in practice in India and in China also. So what was happening in this process? when a person is infected with smallpox, they were collecting the lesion matter from the smallpox infected and able to cure patients, and they were inoculating this into the unvaccinated healthy child so that the child will be protected from the future smallpox infection. This process was called variolation. This was in India. So in China, similarly, the lesion matter from the smallpox infected person were collected and it was inhaled or led the children to inhale this vaccine. This is called the insufflation in China. And because of this, though few of the children were dying, a lot of children were protected from the future smallpox infection during the epidemics. But the present day of the vaccination, credit goes to the Edward Jenner, who himself was infected with the smallpox, but because of the variolation, he survived. So in 1794, 14 May, he collected the pustules, so the lesion matter from his milkmaid, who was infected with the cowpox, and he intentionally injected into a 8-year-old child known as the Faith in 14 May 1794. Then after 6 to 10 weeks, in the July of the same month, he intentionally infected or challenged this child with the live and infectious smallpox material from an infected person, and he found that this child did not develop the smallpox disease. Based on this study and around 22 other studies of himself, as well as the folklore of that time, he published a monograph and called this process of protecting the child from the smallpox infection as vaccination, because the vaccinus means the material that is collected, that is from or of cows. After 100 years, there is another person, a great scientist, Louis Pasteur, invented the vaccines against the whole cholera, anthrax, rabies, and made this vaccination process popular in the world. Then a lot of water has flown through the river, and there is another family of the virus known as the chicken pox, of the same family of the smallpox virus. It is caused by the varicella zoster, and we have a vaccine against the chicken pox also that is approved in 1995. Present smallpox vaccine is from the virus, vaccinia virus. It is not exactly cowpox, but is similar to the cowpox. So the effect of the vaccine, these are the incidents of the various diseases before vaccination strategy, and we can see their incidence in the 2014, and this is from the 5th edition of the functional disorders. So for the foundation of the vaccine, the immunity system, the immunity of our body, it is exploited by the vaccine to protect us from the infection of the viruses or the pathogens. So what is the meaning of the immunity? Immunity is a terminology derived from the Latin word immunitas. It means the protection from the legal prosecution of Roman senators during their tenure in the office. So what are the functions of the immunity present in our body? It protects us, provides defense against the infections. It protects us from the tumorigenesis or the carcinogenesis, because there is frequent mutation in our body, and some of the cells, they become carcinogenesis. But because of this immunity, this tumorigenesis in all of us are prevented, and we are protected from being cancerous. Then, if there is no MSC matching and the organ transplantation is done, then the properties of the immune system is that it can differentiate self from the non-self, and it rejects the non-self substances. So we know about a disease known as the graft versus host disease. That is because of this, because our immune system protects us from the non-self material. But there are some instances where the immune system reacts vigorously against the antigens of the same body. This results in the autoimmune disorders. So the immunity is provided by two types of immunity. One is the innate, another is the adaptive immunity. Innate immunity, the agents is the epithelial barriers and the phagocytes like granulocytes, dendritic cells, and the natural killer cells, as well as the complement system. So this is the first barrier of the infection. So this is a protection that is the fast in response, It is between the 0 to 12 hours of the infections. When a child is born, it is encountered, it is exposed to a new environment. New environments means there are a lot of things which are unwanted by our body. So they start infecting the child. During this time, the child develops resistance against those infections, results in acquired immunity or the adaptive immunity. Who are the agents that provide the acquired or the adaptive immunity? These are the lymphocytes, like the B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes. And it is the second response that starts after 24 hours. So this acquired or the adaptive immunity can be humoral if it is mediated by the B cells, which secrete the antibodies against the pathogen to neutralize it. Because it is present in the serum, which is a liquid, we call it the humoral. And it is cell mediated when the macrophage or the cytotoxic T cells are activated by the T helper cells. And these activated macrophage or the cytotoxic T cells, they directly interact with the phagocytes, the infected cells by the microorganisms or microorganisms themselves and kill them. This is called the cell-mediated immunity. This acquired immunity has these properties like specificity. It is very specific, and depending on the diverse type of microorganisms or the pathogen present in our surrounding, this immune system has the ability to recognize each of them specifically, provided diversity. And the very important, the memory cell that this vaccination is exploiting, that when a person is infected, some of the B and the T cells keep the identifying features of the antigenic properties of this pathogen in the form of the memory cells. It has other properties like the clonal expansion, specialization, and it maintains contraction of the homeostasis, and it differentiates the non-self cells and protect our indigenous cells from being infections. So the very immune systems, how our immune system works. So a pathogen, the material or the structural component of a pathogen can be a protein or a carbohydrate fragment that act to initiate an immune response is known as the antigens. So when a pathogen infects a person, the naive B cell who are not yet encountered any antigen yet, they recognize this antigen X of that specific person which is unique to that pathogen, and it activates the B lymphocytes as well as the T lymphocytes. This process is known as the primary response. After this response, there is the antigen elimination and the apoptosis of the infected cells. So when this response is over and the person is protected from this infection, the properties of this antigen X are memorized by some of the lymphocytes known as the memory lymphocytes. We can found the memory B lymphocytes as well as the memory T lymphocytes. So when this antigen X containing microorganism is infecting the persons again, because we have the memory, so it will give you a early response, 1/3 of the previous time it took, and it will give you a robust response. But for the antigen Y, because it is not encountered yet, the response will be slightly longer and like the primary response. So this property is exploited by the vaccination strategy, that by using the vaccine, that is an antigen specific to a microorganism, we create a primary response in an individual who is vaccinated. So because of this primary response, this individual will have some memory cells that will recognize these unique properties of the antigen that is unique to a specific pathogen. So when the specific pathogen with these unique properties will infect the persons, there will be an early and robust response. Because of that, we can suppress the disease or reduce the severity, and we can decrease the morbidity as well as the mortalities. So coming to this specifically to the vaccination strategy, this is the vaccine. that is an antigen specific or unique to a pathogen. That pathogen can be virus, bacteria, parasites, or it can be the venom or the toxins of that pathogen. Is injected or vaccinated to a person. This vaccine, the antigen, will be processed by the antigen presenting cells and presented to T helper cells by the class 2 MSC or to the cytotoxic T cells, CD8 plus T cells by the class 1 MSC. These T helper cells can induce or activate a B cell or a T cell to lead to antibody production or to cell-mediated response. Because of this, there is the production of the memory cells of the B cells as well as the T cells. So we know that the objective of the vaccination is to produce the memory cells. We know that the vaccine is an antigen that is unique to a pathogen. So vaccines is a strategy. These are the various strategies by which we prepare the vaccine. Means we prepare the antigen that is unique to a specific pathogen. What are the strategies? One, like the smallpox, the general initiated, it is a live attenuated, means it is live, but it is not able to replicate in the host when the person is injected with this one. So the replicating ability is weakened, and it is in the late 18th century. And the vaccine means it is the large production of the virus itself. So when there is a large production of virus, we have the large amount of the antigen. So we exploit the cell culture techniques. Some of the virus, they need some specialized cells. So this is used for the diseases like the measles, mumps, rubella, and the rotavirus. The next stage is the killed whole organism. So we kill the organism so that this organism cannot replicate or multiply or proliferate in the host organism that is infecting, but it has all the antigenic properties, means that is able to recognize this virus is there. So this is in the late 19th century. The first one is the typhoid. And the diseases are the pertussis, influenza, polio, and the rabies. So in this case, because we are killing the organism, it is not able to replicate in the host or proliferate. The third one important is that there are a lot of diseases, the pathogens. The problem is the toxin itself. So in this case, this toxin is inactivated or killed, and the vaccine is prepared. With diseases like the diphtheria and the tetanus, this is the first quarter of the 20th century. So with the increasing of our knowledge about the vaccination strategy and the immunology of the infections, we are able to optimize our vaccine production strategy. At the same time, we are able to amplify the vaccine so that we can fulfill the demand of the larger population. The next strategy is, as I told, there is some part of the pathogen which are unique to the pathogen. So this is called the subunit vaccines. In this case, the specific protein, the protein can be prepared by the recombinant protein or the polysaccharides, or it can be small peptides. And this strategy is used for the pertussis, influenza, meningococcus, and this is the third quarter of the 20th century. In this case, because it is just a subunit of the pathogen, it is not able to replicate in the host. So in the entire process, we are discussing that we are challenging an individual, we are exposing an individual to the viral or the pathogenic properties. But in this case, the immune system is initiated and is giving a primary response, but the very pathogen unique properties are not able to cause the disease. So the person is protected, but it is developing enough memory cells so that when a real pathogen with the virulence ability will infect the person, it will give a early and robust response so that the human will be protected from the disease. So this is the four basic principles of the vaccine strategies. Then because there is a understanding of the immunology, understanding of the genetics, understanding of the nucleic acids, and better understanding and the better development of tools, we exploit these properties to further enhance the vaccine production strategy. Like in this case, we prepare the virus without nucleic acid. This is called the virus-like particles. This is exploited in the human papilloma virus. So it is all the virus, but there is no nucleic acid. So it is not able to replicate in the host. and this is the two carrier. In this case, the carrier is the protein itself. In this case, the carrier is the gram-negative bacterial outer membrane. But the means the antigen present here are the polysaccharide in case of the carrier protein, and in this case, this is a pathogen antigen unique to the specific pathogen. So in this case, we are enhancing the immunogenicity by adding a carrier that helps in the delivery of these subunits. Those are unique to the pathogen. So this gram-negative bacterial outer membrane is used for the meningococcal, and this carrier protein is used for the Haemophilus influenza. Then there is the subunit expressed. The pathogen gene is expressed. It is encapsulated in a viral vector, or it is encapsulated in a bacterial vector. This we use for a efficient delivery of the vaccine into the host. In this case, the nucleic acid is DNA, or it is an RNA that is encapsulated in a lipid nanoparticle that is in use for the SARS-CoV-2 in the present pandemic. And this RNA virus I will discuss in one of the following slides prepared by the Moderna and the Pfizer, how it is being effective. Then there are also efforts that the vaccine is combinedly associated with the antigen presenting cells to get a efficient vaccine. So now going into the visual concept of the various strategies discussed in the previous slide, we can see this is the entire virus, but it is inactivated, means it is killed by heat or by chemicals. So when it is infecting a vaccinated cell, the antigen presenting cell like the dendritic cell, B cells, or even macrophage will process these antigens and present to the T helper cells. This is the subunit, this is the vaccinated cell, and these subunits are expressed here. And this is the antigen presenting cell. Those will take these subunits and present it to the T helper cells. In this case, this is the virus cover that is recombinantly expressed in the plasmid so that we can get the virus-like particles without the nucleic acid. This is also a virus-like particle where the specific, unique, antigenic properties of the specific pathogens are cross-linked. And we prepare a virus-like particle to increase the efficiency of the vaccine. So when this T helper cell is activated, this will go, as I discussed in one of my previous slides, and activate the B cells or the cytotoxic T cells to generate an immune response for the memory cell production. Coming to the present day mRNA vaccine, this is the mRNA that codes for a specific subunit of the pathogen that is unique to this specific pathogen. It is encapsulated in a lipid nanoparticle. This is the vaccinated cell. In the vaccinated cell, this mRNA will express the specific protein like spike in case of the SARS-CoV-2. This vaccinated cell, this spike will be processed by the antigen presenting cell and presented to the T helper cells. These T helper cells will activate the B cells against the specific subunits of the virus to prepare enough antibodies that will neutralize the virus in the future infection. This is a DNA vaccine. In this case, this DNA, it codes the subunit of the pathogen that is unique to that pathogen. But here the delivery system is the virus. Means the delivery system is the virus, but in this case, this is the adenovirus, but the genetic material is not from this adenovirus, but it is from the SARS-CoV-2, the spike protein. So this is used for the specificity of increasing, this is used because the adenovirus is specific to infect the cell, so it increases the efficiency. Then it is infecting the cell, delivering this genetic material that is specific to the SARS-CoV-2, and this is preparing the spike protein. This spike protein is processed by the antigen presenting cell, presented to the T helper cell, and as discussed several times before, it will activate a B cell to prepare antibodies against the spike so that it can neutralize the virus. But there are instances, like I discussed in the previous slide, X and Y antigens. So this is also a protein. and this will also generate immune response. But our objective is not to get the enough memory cells for this protein, but for this protein. So instead, in the second dose, some vaccination needs the second dose. In most of the vaccination, we don't want the increase the titer of the antibody against the adenoviral protein. So what we do means, this is practice in case of the Sputnik V, that the first one is AD26 viral vector, and the second dose is from the AD5 viral vector. What is AD? Adenovirus defective replication serotype 26, and this is serotype 5. So that this will bring or increase the titer of the antibodies against the spike protein, but this adenoviral protein, it will always give the primary response. So the titer against this is less. Then there are some antigen that is not able to induce a strong immune response. So in this case, we use an adjuvant. Adjuvant is derived from a Latin word known as adjuvare. Adjuvare means to help or to aid. So it helps complement the antigen to trigger a robust immune response. So what is the advantage of having a vaccine adjuvant? The first one is it gives you a rapid response. We can prepare a lot of antigens. And because of the presence of the adjuvant, we can get a cross reactivity against the various clades of the similar pathogens. So it widens, broadens the antigenic properties. Then we know that previously some of the people cannot be vaccinated because it does not support, like the elderly patients. So when the antigen quantity will be reduced, an adjuvant addition will give a similar response that the elderly people can also be vaccinated. Similarly, we cannot prepare a lot of vaccines because in a shorter time, like in case of the SARS-CoV-2, we can see there is a problem that enough vaccine is not available. So in this case, because of the adjuvant, the less amount of the vaccine or the antigen is able to initiate a similar response. So in the same quantity of the antigen, if by the use of the adjuvant, we can cater to a larger population. Along with this, there is the reduced number of immunization because of the adjuvant, the immune response is stronger. So we do not need lot of immunization steps. So these are the various advantages of the adjuvants. Along with it, the Depot theory explains that because there is adjuvant properties of this adjuvant, the antigen is really slow, so that we can get a prolonged stimulation of the immune system. So based on this concept, these are the various adjuvants used for the various vaccines. And the very common are the aluminum salt, which is known as the alum. Then there are lipovaccine, lipopolysaccharide, MPL, and there are the MF59. So does the one dose of the vaccine is enough to generate enough memory cells or to generate enough antibody titer so that it can protect us from the future infection? No. Sometimes, and in case of SARS-CoV-2, we can see that except the Johnson and Johnson, remaining all the vaccine need the 2 doses. So we need a booster dose. And there is another disease like the tetanus where the booster dose is needed at the interval of 10 years. So we can see on this figure that after the initial vaccination, the first dose, this is the level of the titer in the serum. But when we give the vaccine, booster vaccine, the titer increases. Means it prepares our body sufficient enough so that it can protect us from the future infection. This is the Lancet publication of the Covishield. In this Covishield, we can see the efficiency of the Covishield double dose the vaccination is around 76%. And in this figure, it explains that when the interval of the 2 vaccine dose is increasing from the 6 weeks to the 12 weeks, we can see that the increase in the efficiency. So what is the vaccine efficiency? This is calculated by comparing the vaccinated persons with the control group. So till now we have discussed that vaccine is good. Everything of the vaccine is good. So does the vaccine have any adverse effect? Yes, it does. Because at the vaccination site, sometimes there is the inflammation, and these are the symptoms of the inflammation, the character of the inflammation, like the redness and the soreness. Sometimes some people are not so comfortable with the vaccination, so they lead to vomit, they develop high fever, sometimes brain damage, and in rare cases, death also occurs. So in case of, you have seen that because of the anaphylaxis, there is at least one case of the death in case of the corona vaccine, the Covishield vaccine. But there are claims and the counter claims that because the vaccine has the preservative, we cannot prepare it today and we deliver it tomorrow. We need preservative. So some people, they claim that the preservative present in the vaccine can cause autism in the children, speech disorders, and the inflammatory bowel disease. And the cause of these problems are the thimerosal, which is a preservative, a mercury containing preservative. But we can see in this CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, that vaccine do not cause autism. So there are claims and the counterclaim, but till now it seems that it does not cause such problems. So do we need to be complacent because we have taken vaccine? We know that this world is a 7.5 billion people, and we already discussed that some people cannot tolerate vaccination because of those problems, because of the physiology of those individuals. So whoever can be vaccinated, they all should vaccinate, because when there are reports that more than 80% of the people are vaccinated, we develop herd immunity. Herd immunity means that some people who cannot be vaccinated because of their physiology, this herd immunity, the remaining 80% of people are vaccinated, so that the disease causing agent doesn't travel among themselves. So these people who are not vaccinated are also protected because of this herd immunity. But if we become complacent and do not take vaccination, then the number of the individual who has taken vaccination, their number will decrease, and thus it will lose the herd immunity. So the disease will reappear. And it will reappear in a more virulent form. There is a very much possibility of it. So it is advisable that whoever can take vaccine, they all should take vaccines. So to prepare a vaccine, we need a target. How we get that target? Like the emergence of the SARS-CoV-2. So like this, these are the various diseases. This is the report of the 1993 from the WHO. We can see these are sequence of the diseases. But in 2016, the WHO report also will see this is the same sequence of the diseases. For them, there is not enough vaccination. So we have the target based on how many people this is killing. So we develop our priorities. But it has its own problem. Like there are diseases, parasitic diseases. It is very difficult to prepare vaccine against them. And because this vaccine research and development program is going on in middle income and the high income countries, so the disease happening in the low income countries, specific to the low income countries, develops less interest to prepare vaccine against those diseases. So these are some of the problems after identifying the targets, or in identifying the targets also, to develop a vaccine. But where the vaccine needs such a long time to be developed. So depending on the different countries, the scientific community or the pharmaceutical company have to convince the government of the respective countries that this disease needs medical need, and whatever vaccine they are preparing or for the use of the common masses, that it is safe and it is effective. So they have to convince the government, and they have to show them the data that it is safe and effective. For that, there is a need of the medical need first. Then they need to prepare the paper for the approval and the license, and they have to prepare the technical ground. Based on this, they will do the preclinical development. In this case, they will identify the antigenic characteristic unique to the pathogen that I have discussed earlier. Then they will purify this antigen, prepare the formulation in the presence of the absence of the adjuvant, do the immunological studies in animals and toxicological studies, so that they can ask the government to let them allow for the phase 1 and phase 2 clinical trials. They got the approval from the government. After that, they will recruit the healthy male volunteers to study the toxicity or the safety, immunogenicity, and to get an idea that how much vaccine is needed in case of the human. This is the phase 1 study. So in phase 1 study, they will get some idea. In phase 2 study, when there is not enough toxicity, enough safety report, they go for the phase 2 study by increasing the number of the individuals and the volunteers to get the more detail and very good detail about the vaccination strategies. It will take few months. Then after that, they will ask the government for the phase 3 clinical trial. In this case, it is a multi-center. There has to be unvaccinated control, and the person has to recruit voluntarily who was naturally exposed to the virus. And because they have to be naturally exposed, we cannot compress the time. So phase 3 trials takes a longer time because there needs enough number of the people or the patients needed who are naturally exposed to the virus. So in this stage, more than 90% of the vaccine candidate failed. Whoever passed this phase 3 trials, then the government will let them to use the vaccine in the common masses. So these are the two examples, like the rotavirus took 25 years to develop a vaccine, human papilloma virus took 26 years to develop a vaccine. So now we got the vaccine. So coming to the current pandemics. This is the SARS-CoV-2, which is a RNA virus. This is the genetic material that is almost 29 kb in the length. And this is the envelope, and this is the spike protein that is very unique to the SARS-CoV-2 that recognizes ACE2 receptor of the epithelial cells. And this spike protein has two domains, S1 and S2 domain, and this is the receptor binding domain that actually recognizes, identify, and bind to the ACE2 receptor. There is a sequence, in the specific sequence, what is the positions of this spike protein and the receptor binding domain. So we know the details of the SARS-CoV-2, we know the immunology of the SARS-CoV-2, because SARS already infected us in 2003. It was not such a pandemic. And whatever strategy we discussed earlier, all of them are in various stages of clinical development, like live attenuated, inactivated, protein subunit. Along with it, there is a strategy like the viral vector, non-replicating and the replicating, as well as there is the viral vector non-replicating and replicating in the presence of the antigen presenting cell. So whatever strategy till now known, they all are in various stages of development for the preparation of the vaccine against the SARS-CoV-2. So here the viral vector replicating, there are two candidates. One of them is the Merck company, Institute Pasteur of the France, and another is the Israel. And this viral vector non-replicating plus APC, there is only one Chinese company candidate is there. And this one, viral vector replicating plus APC, there is one in China and another in the Indonesia. And this is the dose 1, 2, and 3 are prepared for the various vaccines, but whatever in India is there, this is mostly 2-dose vaccines. As well as there are the various route of administration, like oral, this is most preferable, but there are only 3 candidates, and there is subcutaneous, intradermal, intranasal, that is, I think this is about to clear the phase 3 trials, and whatever we are taking now, these most of them are intramuscular injections. These are some of the vaccines that is already approved, part of phase 3 clinical trial and in use in the various countries of the world. The Moderna and the Pfizer, these are mRNA vaccines. They are coding the spike of the coronavirus encapsulated in the lipid nanoparticle. They show the efficiency of more than 90%. But the Pfizer needs the minus 70 degrees Celsius storage, and the Moderna needs minus 20 degrees Celsius storage. Then Johnson & Johnson, this is a 1-dose vaccine. This is a recombinant spike protein, and the delivery vector is the adenovirus. They show more than 72% efficacy. Then the Covishield, this is also a chimpanzee adenovirus prepared from the Oxford recombinant spike protein, uses the defective replication adenovirus. Its efficacy is more than 76%, and the storage is 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. Then the Sputnik, as I discussed earlier, it uses fast dose. This is replication defective adenovirus serotype 26, and the spike is the SARS-CoV-2 protein against which we need the vaccination for the first dose, whereas the adenovirus serotype is for the second dose. So we get the entry starter for the spike protein, but not for the protein that is preparing this virus. Its storage is also 2 to 8, and they have the claim that in single dose 79% efficacy and in double dose 91.6 efficacy. Then these are the three Chinese company uses the inactivated form of the virus, Sinopharm, Sinovac, Sinopharm 1, and they have the various claims ranging from 78 to 91.25% efficacy. Coming to the Covaxin, which is our indigenous prepared by the Bharat Biotech, they use the traditional way of preparing the vaccine by inactivating the SARS-CoV-2 in collaboration with the NIV Pune. And they have shown that the efficacy is 78% and the storage condition is 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. There is another company who has shown very promising results in the There is another company who has shown very promising result in the Corbevax. It is prepared in the biological E company. It uses the recombinant proteins of a spike receptor binding domain. Our Indian government has, hello? So
Yes.
our Indian government has approved of buying this based on the promising result of phase 1 and phase 2 clinical trial of 30 crore doses. So we know that we can prepare vaccine, they have some side effects, and if we know the immunology, we can prepare it. But is it possible that we can prepare vaccines for all the diseases that we are encounter? These are some challenges. The scientific community has the various excuses, like we cannot prepare the vaccine against HIV because replication is very fast, it is error prone. After each replication, it gets mutated. It can recombine into the new strains. It can target the CD4 cell, the very cell that should give us the immunity against the disease. It can hide itself as a provirus in the latent reservoir. And the most important is, we don't have animal model to study the immunology of the HIV infection till yet. And another very important character to prepare a vaccine is, if we need to prepare a vaccine that should work, means the human should be naturally recover from the disease. And for this HIV, till now there is no concrete evidence, though there is a one claim, counter claim, that there is one person who get recovered naturally from HIV-1 infection. But concretely, not a single person till now in the entire 7.5 billion people has recovered from the HIV infection naturally. Still, scientific community is very optimistic and lot of clinical trial was tried. One of the very important clinical trial carried out in Thailand, where the recruitment started in 2005 and ended in 2019, and 31% efficacy of this HIV-1 infection was reported in the New England Journal of Medicine. So it is very less efficacy, though they use or they exploited both responses of our immune system, the T cell responses as well as the B cell responses. So till now we don't have a successful HIV vaccine, though there are other trials like the INBO, CODO, and the NP-Cyto, and this is a US one, SBTN 505. It was terminated in 2013. So the conclusion is, till now, no clinical trial successful for the HIV vaccine production, and we don't have a vaccine for the HIV till yet. Another hepatitis C, we have vaccine for hepatitis A and B, but there is one clinical trial that was carried out for the hepatitis C. It went unsuccessful without any effectivity. Excuses are like the previous one, that it has at least 7 genetically distinct forms, 60 subtypes. So it is very difficult to prepare a vaccine that can be used globally. And the most important is, till now there is no animal model that will give us the information about the immunology of this hepatitis C infection. This is the herpes simplex virus, the similar results, that we don't have vaccine till yet. Though there is one clinical trial that is going on, and till now there is no conclusive evidence that vaccine is effective. Along with it, there are some other diseases, like I already discussed the parasites. It is very difficult to prepare vaccine against them, as it is difficult to understand the antigenic properties, the malaria, leishmania, hookworm infection, as well as the TB, dengue, and chikungunya. There is no vaccine yet. So where the vaccine mandated, though we cannot prepare vaccine for some diseases, we have vaccine for a lot of diseases. Why we need the vaccine? I discussed the herd immunity earlier. So we need to vaccinate all the people so that we get a very strong herd immunity. People who cannot be vaccinated are protected because of this herd immunity. So we can prepare a world which is free of the infection and free of the infectious agents. We can give this free world without any disease to our next generation for a healthier humankind. So based on this, India is undertaking several programs to vaccinate the entire Indian citizens, and these are the various vaccines that is used in India. And we discussed the smallpox eradicated from the global in 1980, and India eradicated the polio in 2014. And these are the other diseases like the measles, pertussis, and the tetanus. Although the Indian population is increasing, we can see the incidence of the diseases are decreasing. It means we are able to decrease the incidence of these diseases. So we are hoping that one day India will also be free of at least those diseases which are preventable. Thank you. So the questions will be appreciated. And if I could not, hello, thank you, sir. If I was audible, throw that out.
Yes, you are very much audible, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Except the speaker, all others, please mute. Please.
So, sir, questions are allowed now?
Yes, sir. Please, sir. I said the questions will be appreciated. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah,
I'll be
sir.
obliged.
Yeah. Sir, what is this zero survey?
So in zero survey, we go collect the samples from the different individuals and we see the presence of the antibody against the virus, so that it gives us an information, though that person has not reported you are infected or not because he never develops a symptom. So we get an idea that how many people were actually infected unintentionally or intentionally in the population.
Sir, is it IgG or IgM?
This is IgG, sir, because IgM is the fast response. And
Oh,
it does not
IgM.
last for.
Oh, IgM is the first response.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I request Dr. Mumtaz Khan, sir, and Dr. Ghanshyam Behera, sir, and it is time for interaction. You coordinate the interaction session. Please, Dr. Mumtaz Khan, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, may I have a question?
Please.
Yes.
Yes,
Sir,
sir,
let
very
me
nice.
finish. Yeah, let me finish.
No, please let me finish.
Yeah, of course, please, sir, please.
Yeah.
Chinta, sir, please complete your.
Yeah. So, sir, actually, IgM is an immediate response and IgG is a longer response.
The fast one is the IgM. Then usually most of the response are IgG.
Acha, the vaccination which we are taking down, it is given. Is there any calculation that the some amount of virus is given in that one vaccine?
Yes, sir. Because in this publication because before the virus was not used. But in this public means when the SARS-CoV-2 came, the government gives the emergency approval for all the strategy as I discussed earlier. So virus was not used in the common masses or in the clinical trial. I have seen that for individuals, they are using the 50 billion virus particles for the vaccination.
50 billion?
Yes, sir, for individual.
Acha, is it same for both the doses?
Sir, they have not told that it is for those or
Yeah.
not. They have discussed that total is 50 billion particles. In combining both, it seems, because they have not written the first dose, second dose like this.
Acha, acha. Okay, let others ask. I will ask again.
Just to supplement, actually, Dr. Achintya, there is no difference between first and second dose.
Acha, acha.
The vaccine is going to be given on the load factor calculation. And that's the reason why they are unable to decide for the, below children dose and all that. Because they are unable, they are going on calculating the load factor. And once they settle with the load factor, then they are going to prescribe for the under 12 vaccine dose and all that.
Acha, acha. Acha, sir, Satyananda sir.
Yes, sir.
In the Sero survey, you do not consider any T cell response?
Sir, T cell response can be considered if we do the flow cytometry. For that, we need to collect the blood and we need to store the peripheral blood mononuclear cells. It is expensive, certainly we can consider. But considering the cost, it is not considered in the present time. Because you collect the blood, you spin them down, you just collect the serum. This is less expensive compared of doing it with immunophenotyping using the fluorescence conjugated antibody. That is very much expensive.
Yes, sir, I got it. But my question is, India is not doing it, but no Western countries also doing it. Even China is not doing it.
China, actually, we don't know, sir. They are doing it or they are not doing it.
But there is no report about. But there is no report about Moderna or Pfizer or any other vaccine that is developed in. Even for Sputnik, it is also not available. T cells response.
T cell response, the clinical trial, they have shown the efficacy and they have calculated it. Yeah, based on the serum value, they have calculated it.
Achha.
It is all the publications are there in the Lancet. Around the February, it is published.
Achha, sir, I have a lot many questions. Kindly share your telephone number. We can talk privately.
Sure, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So now I take a question of Udit Das for why there is no vaccine for HIV yet.
Yes,
why is it difficult to develop a vaccine for HIV? I request Dr. Satyanand Patel sir.
Yes, sir. That I discussed very extensively here.
Yeah.
Now, second question. This is the question from Himanshu Chandra Sarangi sir, our PG Council chairman. What is the longevity of the memory contained in memory cell? What factors affect?
Yeah, the memory cells, like I discussed, in case of the tetanus, it lasts for 10 years. In case of the polio, the smallpox, the person one infected does not get infected with the virus for entire life, means memory cell lasts for entire life. So in case of the SARS-CoV-2, till now there are reports that it lasts for 6 to 8 months. So depending on the disease and their immunology, it varies from disease to disease for the memory cells.
And continuing the question, what factors affect is retention and possible erosion of memory cells?
Retention and the possible erosion, sir, that I cannot explain, but based on the data, I can tell that for this disease, means we can have the memory cell that has enough strength to prevent the occurrence of the disease for the second time, that we have. But if we know the reason, then certainly we need one dose for all diseases. I think that if that knowledge is also available, I think it is not complete.
The next question is from Jyoti
Sir, if you permit, sir, 1 minute please. So if you permit, sir, I want to explain this HIV again.
Yeah, please do it, sir.
Because it is, I have prepared it. So in case of the HIV, the important is there is a claim that the replication is fast, it is error prone, so mutated copy. So it is difficult to follow it. One reason, but it can be addressed like coronavirus, and we have the DNA nucleic acid vaccine. This can be addressed. Next is it has the ability to recombine into the new strain. So it gives the new genetic material. And it is infecting the CD4 cells. it can preserve itself as a latent reservoir. So when a vaccine is there also, it cannot identify it because it is hiding. And all this is there because we don't have an animal model from where we get the information how to counter these four problems. This is one very important thing. Another important thing is, if we are vaccine compatible for the HIV, at least there should be one individual in the entire 7.5 billion people who should naturally recover from the HIV infection. That gives that yes, we human have the immune system that can protect us. And till now, as I discussed, there is one lady who claimed by this article that recovered naturally from the HIV, but the New York Times, which is probably more authentic than this one, they claim that they are not sure. They say they may have been cured. And if it is a concrete evidence, I think it is published in 2019, it would have been all leading newspaper of the globe that yes, there is one individual in the entire world who naturally recovered. So based on this, we can understand the physiology of that individual, and that will help us in getting a lot of information about countering HIV. So I think these are the two important points, animal model and natural recovery. Despite this, there were clinical trials which were not successful. So that is for the HIV story.
So now I go for the second question again from Jyoti Prakash Rath. Why double mask is being recommended for COVID after second phase of this COVID disease?
I don't understand, sir. Can you please repeat it again?
Yeah. Earlier, N95 mask was recommended.
Okay, N95. Yes, sir. Yes.
On double mask was recommended for COVID. Why is it so? This is a question from Jyoti Prakash Rath.
Yes, sir. So if you let me answer this question. Sir, actually N95 mask, because every mask has a pore size, and N95 mask is for the pollution, to protect us from the particles present in the air. And virus is, we know it is, the coronavirus is slightly larger, but most of the viruses are around 100 nanometer in size. And the virus does not spread like powder. It spread through the aerosol. So the most important thing is using more than 2 layers of the cotton mask, who can absorb the water. So if the water is absorbed from the aerosol, the virus cannot go inside, though it is bigger in size. So N95 mask can you wear, but inside or outside the means N95 you need a double layer cotton mask. Because it is not to prevent the virus, it is to prevent the aerosol to be inhaled virus. Because no mask can prevent the virus entry because it is very small.
Thank you, sir. Another question from Khushbu Agrawal, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Karnataka University. Why RNA technology-based vaccines are more effective?
Why RNA-based technologies are?
Why RNA technology-based vaccines are more effective?
More effective, you are saying, because the last one I could not hear.
Yes, effective.
Yes, it is more effective because I already discussed here. It is directly producing the peptide. So as soon as it is going inside through the lipid nanoparticle using the host machinery to prepare the virus-specific peptides, that's why it is more effective.
In continuity to the same thing, Jyoti Prakash Rath has asked, though both Moderna and Pfizer mRNA vaccines, why the efficacies are variable?
Yes, sir. It depends on the formulation, sir. As we discussed, though we have this is actually the core strategy of the vaccine production. But where we need to enhance the efficacy of the vaccine production, that's why we use the subunit of the virus as the strategy, but we change the delivery ways, like the virus particle as the carrier, the virus-like particle, this is like the killed, but no nucleic acid. Like the carrier here, the gram-negative, that is containing the subunits. This is the carrier protein. In this case, this is the viral protein expressed in the DNA, and the carrier is the adenovirus. Here the carrier is the lipid nanoparticle. Here the carrier is the bacterial virus. So, though we have this only 4 major strategies, still it is not enough to prepare vaccine for all the diseases. So, we need to increase efficiency by various ways of the delivery of the viral antigen unique to the pathogen using various strategies like carrier, like the delivery viral vector or the lipid nanoparticle or the bacterial vector. So the formulation is different, so efficiency decreases because the delivery is different.
Thank you very much. There is a question from Himanshu Charan Sahu. If a pregnant lady gets COVID-19, would the fetus get passive immunity?
The immunoglobulin can travel through the placenta, that we know. So theoretically it should. There are enough literature available that immunoglobulin can cross placentas. That's why when we prepare the serum, fetal bovine serum, the cow is killed during the pregnancy time so that we can get the serum. So theoretically, yes, it should be get the passive immunity.
Esteemed participant, you may ask questions verbally also.
I take another question from Dr. Swati Yadav. If a person is infected with COVID-19, then how long will the memory cell develop in it?
So based on the present literature, they are arguing that once a person is infected, the antibody titer is in the threshold up to 8 months. So that we have information of only that level. So the person is protected for at least 8 months minimum. So based on the new evidence, new data, this knowledge will be augmented.
Hello, Professor Khan. May I say something?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Satyendra sir, namaste. Sir,
Yes,
one question from our third year student, Dharitri Sahu, asking why 2 different strain of adenovirus is taken for the Sputnik V for making 2 successive doses.
yes, sir. That one I already explained in this one. So this is an example of the response. This is an example. So in this one, we can see the virus, which is the delivery agent, is also a protein that also acts as an antigen. So the antigen X belongs to the spike protein of the SARS-CoV-2, okay? And the antigen Y is the protein of the adenovirus, okay? So when antigen Y is here, antigen X is here, we have the primary response for both of them. But if the second dose will be antigen X and second antigen Y like the Covishield, we can have the response for both the protein against the spike of the SARS-CoV-2 as well as the protein for the adenovirus. So as I discussed earlier, we have seen that the viral titer against the SARS-CoV-2 is less when the dose between the 2 is same. That I will explain it later. But if we change the antigen, means the antigen of the vector, delivery vector, like AD26 for the first dose, primary response, AD5 for the second dose, again primary response. So we are facilitating the increase in the titer of the antibodies as well as the memory cells for the spike of the SARS-CoV-2 instead of the protein of the delivery vector. That's why Sputnik think before preparing the vaccine, and it uses 2 different adenovirus for delivering 2 different doses of the spike proteins. And coming to the Covishield example, so this one, that's why I taken it from the Lancet, their publication. because Covishield uses the same adenovirus, that is the chimpanzee adenovirus, we can see that when there is the increase in the interval from the 6 to 12 weeks, there is increase in the efficiency of the vaccination or the titer of the antibodies against the spike protein. This is because the adenovirus is a big virus molecule, so there are a lot of antigens present in the delivery vector itself. So when the time is shorter, it is also preparing the secondary response or increasing the titer of the antibody when we are getting the second dose. And the spike is only one protein, so it is not getting enough time to prepare the second response again. So to increase the antibody titer against the SARS-CoV-2 spike, if we use the two different delivery vectors, this is better.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And they have shown it.
Can I ask one question, sir?
Sure.
Sir, go, sir.
Sir, why is fatality rate in European countries more than Asian countries? Is there any reason?
Yes, yes. Probably there are many, means it is not experimentally proven, but I can explain you from here. Here, if we say they can broaden the response because there is the cross activity of the clade. And we know that SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, the agent, it is found in the animals also. So the tropical countries are more infections when we are grown because the acquired immunity we develops antibodies against lot of tropical diseases. And again we take the BCG vaccine. But in the European countries, they are more healthier and less exposed to the various pathogens in their environment. So it is a probable claim because we have the antibodies against the other diseases, probably they are giving us non-specific protection against SARS-CoV-2. So the fatality is more in the high-income countries and low in the tropical countries mostly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And is temperature playing any role, sir?
Sir, in case of the temperature, I cannot probably, but I haven't come across such literature, sir.
And what is the genome difference between SARS and SARS-CoV-2 so that people have not learned too much from the
Yeah,
earlier?
the genome, I can give the, most of the things are similar. So as soon as the SARS-CoV-2 came, the properties are similar. So they were able to sequence it completely and understand the immunology means in a very robust way. So if they want the exact information, I can share the literature of the SARS-CoV-2, even all the means the family of the coronavirus. Presently means I have it, but I don't remember it.
Thank you, sir. So due
Hello,
to
sir.
shortage
Hello,
of
sir.
time, so
I have got a question to ask. Sir, I have
sir,
got a question to ask.
this is
May
the
I
last
ask
question we'll take. Okay, sir, ask.
Yeah. Sir, Satyendra sir, I have got
Yes, sir.
one question.
Please, sir.
So after taking both the doses, why it is again becoming fatal for many of the doctors and many of the people are dying after taking, whether the immunity is increasing or actually not? That is my question.
So you are talking about the European situation, right?
No, I am talking the immunity in case of
Yes,
the
yes.
people
So-
that are taking double doses. They are taking double doses. After double doses, people are also dying.
Yes.
So what is happening to immunity? Whether it is being enhanced or immunity is not being increased.
So in the European studies,
Why
because
it is become? My question is why it is becoming fatal again after double dose?
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Because when you are taking the vaccine, it needs some time, and if you are not infected, then it can protect you. But if a person is already infected and having the other morbidity, probably they are the result of this fatality. Like in the Europe, when they were taking the Covishield, they were saying that people are dying because of the clot that is coming from the Covishield. But after the studies, they found that these clots are not because of the vaccine, but because whoever taken the vaccine, they already have the disease and it is because of them. But till now, it needs to be investigated that whether they are dying because of the vaccine is less efficient or because they are already infected before taking the vaccine. Because vaccine needs some time, as I discussed earlier, For the primary response, it needs 3 weeks to develop. And if the antibody is there, then it can respond you within a week, 2 to 7 days. So if the vaccine is less efficient, usually all the vaccines are more than 90% efficient. But we can see here that in this slide I discussed.
Sir, thank you. Sir, thank you, sir. Sir,
so in this slide, okay, sir. The efficiency of the most of the vaccines are around 70%. So probably those people are within this remaining 30% where the antibody is not developing. This is also one of the reasons.
Maybe. Yes, okay, sir. There are lots of questions, but due to lack of time, we are not taking all the questions right now. We'll get back after the session. Okay, sir. So thank you, Dr. Mumtaz Khan and Dr. Ghanshyam Behera, sir, for coordinating this interaction section. Now I will request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Sanjay Satwisi, sir, to present the presidential speech.
Thank you, everybody. Special thanks to Professor Des. Actually, there are a lot of questions. Just not what will happen to different people, thing which from learning. The idea is the prevention is better than cure, but for the it is not so lot of efforts, a lot of ideas.
Sir, there is some problem. We are not audible, sir.
Hello. Hello.
There is some problem, sir. You are not audible.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, but not clearly audible, sir.
Now
it is a network problem, sir.
Sir, network problem, sir.
Okay. Finish up. Possible in 2 lines. I am finishing up. We all believe childhood is better than cure. It is for the mind also. No vaccination, usual effort to go ahead. Casualties are made because so we have to vaccinate ourselves against this fear, to be confident and to make the effort to stand against the move to be winner. I'm happy with the interactions which are made. I'm happy with it, and automatically I'm happy with the answers also. So in total, I can say team of botany and zoology have made a very good effort about the contemporary topic. And myself are happy with the inquisitiveness of my students and faculty members and all the listeners who form the team of Kalahandi University. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Now it's time to convey our thanks. I request Ms. Khushbu Agrawal to extend the vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Am I clearly audible to you all?
Yes.
Namaskar and greetings to all. This is Khushbu Agrawal, Assistant Professor in Botany, Kalahandi University. It's my proud privilege to propose the formal vote of thanks for today's national webinar on behalf of Department of Botany and Zoology, Kalahandi University. First of all, let me give thanks to Almighty for making today's session a productive one. I extend my heartfelt thanks to each and everyone who has directly or indirectly contributed for overwhelming success of today's webinar. With about registration of more than 600 participants across the nation, I am here informing you all that the recorded version of this webinar shall be uploaded in our university YouTube channel, and the feedback link will also be given in the Telegram group. So there are many queries from the participants regarding the recorded versions, because many of them have not able to join due to the limitation of the Google Meet of about 250 participants. So the recorded version shall be served. At the outset, I take this opportunity to express the profuse gratitude and sincere thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor of today's webinar, Professor Sanjay Satpathy Sir, for providing us the opportunity to conduct the webinar with unconditional support and constant encouragement. Thank you, sir, for your dynamic leadership and blessings. I place on record our deep sense of thankfulness to the esteemed Registrar, Professor Vui, for his active guidance and a nice welcome address. Words may not be sufficient to express our gratitude to our chief guest and guest of honor, Professor Desmukh, President, MSI India, and Professor Behera, State President, MSI. Thank you, sir, for the illuminating words, endless motivation, sagacious advice, and guidance at each step, and spending the valuable time from your busy schedule. We are really thankful and indebted to our resource person, Dr. Satyanand Patel, research scientist at AIPH University, for accepting our invitation in short time and nicely explaining the current topic on concept of vaccine development. Thank you, sir, for joining us. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to our convener, Dr. Pradhan, Faculty of Geology Department, and working as Regional Coordinator for MSI Unit, for his planning, coordination, and executing the event so well. A big obligatory towards the whole team, especially Dr. Panigrahi, HOD of Geology, for his suggestions and endless efforts, Dr. Ghanshyam Behera, HOD of Botany, and Dr. Khan, Assistant Professor in Geology, for their constant efforts and management. Our special thanks to our Assistant Registrar, Captain Jaydev Sahu sir, Chairman PG Council Himanshu Sadangi sir, and all the faculties of Kalahandi University, as well the dignitaries from various university and colleges across the nation, for participating actively in the webinar and accepting our invitation. Our special thanks, and we are really overwhelmed for our students and research scholars who have shown great interest and participated in huge numbers in the webinar. My thankful submission towards technical team head Vishnu Babu for his kind support. Last but not the least, there are many more names associated whom I didn't mention here due to the lack of time. I'm thankful and obliged for their direct and indirect involvement in today's webinar in first place. Thank you so much. Have a nice day to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khushbu. Now I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor to officially announce the closure of the webinar.
We can close now.
Yes,
and I
sir.
expect a very good research team. My students, you can mentally start after 1 year. You may get the opportunity to be a scholar of this university. To be a researcher is not an instant activity. So think new possibilities, new ideas from today itself. A very good time is awaiting you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.